Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be exploring all those complex challenges facing modern democracies.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly in the U.S. and Europe. And our roadmap for this journey is this academic paper called The Complex Interplay of Democracy, Social Change, and Governance.
Wow.
It really gets you thinking about how we balance individual freedoms with the need for a cohesive society.
Right.
And how can these democracies adapt to rapid social change?
Yeah.
While staying true to those core values that define them.
The paper jumps right into the deep end with this idea of individual autonomy, especially in the U.S. context.
Yeah, I mean, we've all probably noticed this growing emphasis on personal freedom, especially the right to make decisions about your own body, your appearance, your identity, and it's so deeply tied to this liberal democratic ideal of individual rights. But
the paper suggests it's also contributing to this thing they call an identity crisis.
Yeah, that identity crisis.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
What is that?
So this focus on personal freedom has undeniably led to a lot of progress.
Of course.
But it also fuels these really complex and sometimes contentious conversations
For sure.
about gender, race, and sexuality.
Yeah.
For instance, the paper highlights how this whole emphasis on individual rights can sometimes clash with the need for social cohesion.
Right. How do we create that?
Creating this tension between individual expression and these shared values.
It is fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
On one hand, we have this push for greater inclusivity and acceptance of diverse identities, which is essential for a healthy democracy.
Of course.
But then on the other hand, you see these concerns about fragmentation and a potential erosion of shared values if everyone's just solely focused on their own individual path.
Yeah, it's
tricky.
It's a delicate balancing act.
Yeah.
And the paper really emphasizes finding that balance is crucial for democracies to actually thrive.
Oh, for sure. Think of it like navigating a tightrope.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good analogy.
Between those individual freedoms and the glue that kind of holds society together.
Right. And speaking of navigating these complex social landscapes, the paper also points out this seemingly paradoxical trend.
Okay.
Where even as individual freedoms are expanding, we're seeing this resurgence of traditional values.
Oh, wait.
Particularly within certain religious minority groups.
Okay.
So the paper specifically mentions Christian, Muslim, and Orthodox Jewish communities.
Okay.
These groups often hold strong beliefs in traditional family structures and are experiencing rapid population growth.
Okay.
Which can sometimes lead to some cultural friction.
Yeah.
When those values clash with the more liberal secular norms.
Yeah, it's two different visions of how society should function.
Yeah.
Coexisting in the same space at the same time. But, the paper does highlight the positive contributions these communities make, emphasizing their focus on family values and community support.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that diversity, even when it leads to some friction, can really enrich society.
Yeah.
Their values often promote these strong communities and social support networks, which are really vital assets.
Absolutely. Now, shifting gears a bit.
Okay.
The paper turns its attention to law and order, which is a cornerstone of any functioning society.
Right.
And they raise this pretty important concern.
What's that?
Which is that the perception of lax law enforcement can erode public trust in the government.
Oh, yeah.
And its institutions.
Yeah.
Big time.
That's a crucial point.
Isn't it?
When people feel unsafe or believe that the rules don't apply equally to everyone, it can totally undermine their faith in the entire system.
Yeah.
And the paper argues this puts democratic governments in this really difficult position, having to balance the need for public safety with the protection of individual rights. Yeah, it's a constant struggle to maintain that delicate balance.
It's a tightrope walk, isn't it?
It is.
Ensuring public safety without overstepping individual liberties.
Totally.
And this balancing act only gets harder when you consider all those economic burdens many citizens are facing.
Oh, yeah.
The paper calls out the rising cost of living.
For sure.
Particularly for housing, healthcare, and education.
Yeah.
This puts so much pressure on individuals.
It does.
Especially younger generations. And it can contribute to this sense of hopelessness or resentment.
No, absolutely.
The paper gives the example of the cost of higher education and how it discourages people from pursuing those degrees, leading to a cycle of debt and financial stress that limits economic opportunity.
And that's not just a personal problem.
Right.
That's a societal issue.
Yeah.
When people feel like they're trapped in the cycle of debt with limited upward mobility, it can erode their trust in the system and lead to social unrest.
For sure. The paper also touches on how this economic anxiety can be amplified.
Oh, yeah.
When citizens perceive the government as prioritizing foreign aid or international issues.
Over domestic needs.
Over their needs.
Yeah.
It creates a sense of disconnect.
Totally.
Between the government's priorities and the daily struggles of its people.
Yeah, citizens want to feel like their government is working for them.
For sure.
You know, addressing their needs and ensuring a future where they can actually thrive.
Yeah.
When that connection is broken.
Right.
It can have a significant impact on their trust and faith in democratic institutions.
For sure. And that leads us to another powerful force shaping democratic societies. Corporations.
Corporations.
The paper raises these interesting questions about their influence and asks whether their pursuit of profits sometimes comes at the expense of the broader population.
That's a debate that's been going on for centuries.
I know, it's a big one.
Yeah. Are they engines of innovation and economic growth?
Right.
Or do they prioritize their own interests over the well-being of society as a whole?
That's the question.
The paper doesn't give a definitive answer, but suggests that the influence of corporations and special interest groups can lead to policies that benefit a select few while potentially harming the majority.
It's tough. So it's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
It is.
On one hand, we rely on corporations for jobs, innovation, and economic growth.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, their influence can sometimes lead to policies that prioritize profits over people.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Haven't I?
It's about finding that delicate balance where corporations can thrive without undermining the common good.
Speaking of balancing acts, the paper doesn't limit its focus to the U.S.
Oh, okay.
It also highlights some of the unique challenges facing European democracies. And one that really stands out is this demographic shift that they're experiencing.
What is that?
Europe is facing this demographic time bomb. With declining birth rates. Leading to an aging population and a potential labor shortage. This raises a whole host of issues. Like how to fund Social Security and healthcare systems that were designed for younger population. And immigration is often seen as a potential solution to this labor shortage. But that brings its own set of complexities. So how do these European countries balance the integration of newcomers with preserving their national identity and cultural heritage?
It's a delicate issue.
It is.
Immigration can help address labor shortages and bring in these new perspectives and talents. But it also raises questions about social cohesion and cultural integration. How do you create a society that is welcoming and inclusive while also respecting the values and traditions of those existing communities?
It all comes back to that central question we started with. Doesn't it?
It does.
That balance between individual freedoms and the needs of society as a whole.
Absolutely.
It's a challenge every democracy is grappling with, and there's no easy answer. Not at all.
It's complex. It certainly does. And these challenges, you know, they become even more tricky when we add in the influence of corporation. Which we were talking about a bit earlier. You know that age-old question? Do they really prioritize their own interests? Often tied to profit above the well-being of society as a whole.
It's a question that has sparked so many debates.
I know, right?
And it's still so relevant today. You know, we hear all this talk about corporate social responsibility. But it can be really hard to say where the line is.
Where do you draw that line?
You know, are they engines of innovation and progress? Or do they use their power in ways that actually harm the common good?
The paper does a good job of highlighting this tension. On the one hand, they drive economic growth. They create jobs. And they bring us these innovative new products and services.
Of course.
You know, it's hard to imagine modern life without them.
That's true.
Without their contributions.
But
then on the flip side, there's this concern that their power, especially when you combine it with their lobbying efforts, can really skew the playing field. You know, in their favor. Sometimes at the expense of workers' rights, environmental protection, or fair competition.
It's complex.
It is. It's a very complex issue.
No easy answers.
No easy answers at all. The paper doesn't give a simple solution. But it suggests that finding the right balance is crucial. Making sure that corporations can thrive, but also making sure that they're held accountable for their impact on society.
And the environment.
Yes, exactly.
Makes you wonder, what role do citizens play in all of this?
It's a good question. Can individuals actually make a difference when it comes to these big challenges?
That's where the paper brings up this idea of social change.
Okay.
And the role of the citizens. We are living in this time of rapid transformation.
Oh, yeah.
Driven by technology.
For sure.
And these shifting demographics.
Absolutely.
And all these evolving social norms.
It's constantly changing.
Right.
Yeah.
And the paper argues that democratic societies need to adapt.
Yes.
To these changes.
Yeah.
While also holding on to their core principles.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like steering a ship.
Okay.
Through rough waters.
Yeah, right.
Choppy water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do these democracies stay true to their values?
Right.
But also be flexible enough to deal with all this new stuff?
Exactly. And the paper suggests a key ingredient is open dialogue.
Okay.
And a commitment to critical thinking.
Yeah.
Democracies thrive when their citizens are informed and engaged and able to participate in these discussions about the issues that are affecting their lives.
I think that's a good point. It's not just about having the information.
It's about what you do with it.
Yeah.
Can you evaluate the information?
Exactly.
Can you form your own opinions?
Right.
We're bombarded with so much information all the time.
I know, it's overwhelming.
It can be really tough to figure out what's real and what's not.
Exactly. And the paper talks about the need for media literacy.
Okay.
Recognizing that not all information is equal.
Of course.
Citizens need to be equipped with those skills to identify bias, evaluate evidence, and separate truth from falsehood.
Oh, it's like being a detective.
Yeah.
In this world of information.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
You got to be looking for clues, weighing the evidence, coming to your own conclusions.
Exactly. And that's why spaces like this, where we can have these open and honest conversations, are so important.
They're really valuable.
They are. Yeah. They give us a platform to explore different perspectives, to challenge our assumptions, and engage in this constructive dialogue.
It's like a gym.
For our brains.
For our critical thinking muscles.
Exactly.
The more we exercise those muscles, the better we are at dealing with all the complex stuff.
The complexities of the world.
And that's essential for any healthy democracy.
For sure.
Informed and engaged citizens are the foundation of a thriving democratic society.
They hold their leaders accountable.
Yes.
They demand transparency. And they advocate for those policies that are actually helping people.
Absolutely. It's not just about voting every few years.
Right.
It's about being an active participant.
Yeah.
In the democratic process.
All the time.
It's about staying informed.
Right. Yeah.
Engaging in your community.
Yeah.
And making your voice heard on the issues that you care about.
Speaking up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's recognizing that democracy is a shared responsibility.
We're all in this together.
We are. Yeah. It's a journey, not a destination.
That's a good way to put it. And it requires all of us to work together to make sure that our democracies are strong and responsive to the needs of their citizens.
I think that's a good place to transition
for
the final part.
Sounds good.
Of our deep dive.
Okay.
So we've explored all these challenges.
We have.
Now let's look at some solutions.
Yeah.
And think about what we can do as individuals to strengthen these democratic societies. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the problems facing democracies. But the paper also offers some potential solutions.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, some ways we can make democracies stronger.
Okay.
More resilient,
Right. It starts by recognizing that all these challenges are connected.
They all tied together.
Yeah, we can't really fix the economy without dealing with those political divisions.
Right.
Or build social cohesion without addressing discrimination.
Right. It's like this big tangled web.
It is. It's complex.
Yeah.
You can't just pull one thread.
No, you got to look at the whole thing.
Yeah, you got to look at the whole picture. Yeah.
A holistic approach.
Okay, so where do we even begin?
Well, the paper talks about investing in education.
Education.
Like quality education for everyone.
Right.
I think you'd agree that's so important for any democracy.
Absolutely.
Giving citizens those tools for critical thinking makes them better voters.
More informed.
More engaged.
And able to hold their leaders accountable.
Exactly. It's about empowering people, giving them the knowledge and the skills to navigate this complex world.
To separate fact from fiction.
Yeah, and form their own opinions.
Based on evidence and reason.
Exactly. It's like we're planting seeds.
I like that.
For a better future.
Yeah.
More resilient future.
Yeah, for sure. And those seeds can also be planted in the economy.
The economy?
Oh, yeah. The paper talks about economic inequality.
Absolutely.
And how important it is to create a system where everybody has a chance to succeed.
Yeah. Everybody deserves a fair shot.
Right. So we're talking about things like income inequality.
Affordable housing.
Huge issue.
Healthcare costs, education costs.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. We talked about all that.
We did.
But how do we actually fix these problems?
Right. How do we turn concern into action?
Yeah. Does the paper give us any specific solutions?
It doesn't go into a ton of detail about specific policies.
Right.
But it emphasizes solutions that promote social mobility.
Okay.
And create a more level playing field.
So everyone benefits.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah.
It suggests policies aimed at reducing income inequality.
Okay.
Expanding access to affordable healthcare and education.
Right.
Investing in job training programs.
So people can get the skills they need.
Exactly. All of that can have this positive ripple effect.
Throughout society.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we create this system where everyone feels like they're part of it.
Yeah, like they matter.
Like they have a chance.
Yes.
To do well.
To build a better future for themselves and their families.
Right. But all of this requires a government that's really listening to the people.
Absolutely. A government that's responsive.
To their needs.
To their needs.
Yeah.
Yes. And that brings us back to citizen engagement.
Oh, yeah. Full circle.
Full circle. The paper says democracies need active citizens.
Informed citizens?
Engaged citizens.
People who hold their leaders accountable.
Exactly. They demand transparency, and they fight for policies that help everyone.
So it's not enough to just vote.
No, it's not. It's about being involved.
Participating in your community.
Yeah, staying informed.
Yeah, making your voice heard.
Exactly. It's about realizing that we all have a role to play.
Democracy is a team effort.
It is. It's a shared responsibility.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
That's a great way to wrap things up.
I think so.
You know, it can feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
Thinking about all the challenges democracies face.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But we have the power to make a difference.
Absolutely.
By staying informed, getting involved, holding our leaders accountable.
Yeah.
We can build a better future.
Stronger, more
resilient.
For everyone.
So that's it for our deep dive today.
I hope you enjoyed it.
I did. I learned a lot.
Me too.
I hope you did too.
Yeah.
And remember, the future of democracy is in our hands.
It is.
So stay engaged, stay active, and let's make it a good one.
Let's do it.
Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.
We'll see you next time.